D-dimer, which is basically a coagulation-related test, which is primarily a fibrin degradation product. It is a small protein fragment present in the blood after blood clot is degraded by fibrinolysis. It is so named because it has contains two D fragments of fibrin protein joined by a cross-link. A D-dimer concentration may be determined by blood test to help diagnose thrombosis. Hence, during plasma coagulation, soluble fibrin is generated and D-dimers are released as a characteristic fibrin degradation products of these cross-linked fibers. So this is how a pathophysiology routinely in our textbooks, which we see, it is a activation of the coagulation pathways. Then there is activation of factor 2, and then fibrinogen is converted to fibrin, and further it is converted to a product FDP, that is a D-dimer. So in our clinical practice, lower levels of D-dimer concentrations were exclusively used in detecting venous thrombus events, such as deep vein thrombosis of legs and pulmonary embolism. On the other hand, there was increased D-dimer levels indicate the activation of coagulation and following a fibrinolytic process, demanding for further diagnostic and therapeutic approaches. In addition to inherited risk factors for venous thromboembolism, numerous acquired risk factors for VTE exist, including infections and inflammatory diseases. So even before the outbreak of coronavirus pandemic or COVID-19, there was increased D-dimer levels reported in influenza-like infections, ILI, due to activation of coagulation by respiratory viruses. So recently published IFFC guidelines on COVID-19 strongly suggest that D-dimer testing in patients with COVID-19 is quite mandatory these days. Several studies support the use of cutoff values of 0.05 FEU microgram per ml, and studies on SARS-CoV-2 revealed a high correlation between severity and outcome of COVID-19 in patients with increased D-dimer levels. So in case of disease progression in COVID, although most patients with coronavirus disease, that is COVID-19, predominantly have a respiratory tract infection, a proportion of patients progress to more severe and systemic disease characterized by treatment-resistant pyrexia, acute lung disease, acute lung injury with ARDS, shock, and multiple organ failure associated with substantial mortality. As a result, if you see under microscope, if you have a microscopic image, there is presence of micropulmonary embolism seen in severe COVID-19 patients, which is shown in the picture below. So now we consider D-dimer as a prognostic indicator, and it can be used as to monitor the level of treatment affecting. So in many patients, cohort studies worldwide have been done, and the value of more than 3 FEU per microgram per ml had a 85% sensitivity and 89% specificity for predicting with patients with developed deep vein thrombosis as well as pulmonary lung disease. Hence, this supports that empiric anticoagulation treatment for patients with markedly elevated D-dimers, especially in situations where frequent CT cannot be done because of logistic constraints. Nowadays, we are using the FEU as a parameter to, and the conversion factors are even below. So worldwide, most of the labs follow the FEU unit of detection. In case of management, so D-dimer, there are 4 important tests which are taken at the primary level. These are D-dimer, prothrombin time, platelet count, and fibrinogen. So if the D-dimer is markedly raised, prothrombin time is prolonged, platelet count is less than equal to 100, and fibrinogen less than equal to 2 grams per liter, we may have to admit the patient and monitor it once or twice a day. And if the patient is set on prophylactic dosage of low molecular weight heparin, the patient would be fine. And if there is a worsening of clinical conditions, then the blood products as per protocol and experimental therapies have to be started. I would not go in details with the management because that is not my core area. However, a D-dimer is also very important in starting the empirical anticoagulation therapy in a COVID-19 patient. So the values definitely are monitored daily, and then a fall in the values is noted. As against to other tests which are very important and we have to cover them in the laboratory, which are based on depending on the inflammatory markers as well as the coagulation based laboratory parameters. So the tests which are enumerated are prothrombin time, INR, activated partial thromboplastin time, D-dimer, fibrinogen, and platelets. That's for our coagulation-based assays. As against to inflammatory markers, we have the most important is CRP as per our previous talks, ESR, ferritin, procalcitonin, HSCRP, and LDH. And other related tests are definitely a complete blood count with a new marker available, that is neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, also called as NLR ratio, that has a prognostic and diagnostic indication. As in the liver enzymes, the ALT is considered as at most important. Urea, creatinine, cystatin C, myoglobin, and interleukin 6, of course. At a glance, if you have a look at the table below, these are the number of tests which are followed currently in the laboratory, and this is how a mild disease and a severe disease will show these values. So most of them are increased. Only the the total WBC count and the lymphocyte population and platelet counts would be marginally low. Hence, in Metropolis, we have now introduced a COVID risk stratification prognostic panel, which indicates all the tests which were mentioned above. And this would be the best possible panel available to monitor a patient for prognosis and theranostic process. Thanks for the patient hearing. Thank you.